just been trekking through the jungle. I'm in this amazing part of the jungle under this incredibly big tree. And yeah, I just was thinking as I walked up the path about my time living in this jungle here on this island, and my own awakening into my feminine, into my sexual energy through nature. So I thought it's a good place to sit under a tree and share my story. A little sweaty. So about 15 years ago, I was diagnosed. I had a lot of pain in my pelvis. I was diagnosed with an ovarian cyst. It was quite big, and they told me, okay, come back in 3 months. If it's any bigger, we're going to operate and remove it. So I had 3 months as a gift. And I picked up this book called The Mysteries of the Dark Moon Goddess by Demeter George. And it was such an eye-opening book about the dark feminine, you know, and like reclaiming the dark feminine and this kind of thing. I mean, it's worth just reading. But, you know, for me, at this stage, had been very much love and light and sweet and, you know, all these cute qualities of the feminine. But I had a lot of shadow unexplored. And it's pretty much all about fear. And then the universe sort of brought me this opportunity to move very deep in the jungle. And so I did. I had a little hut very, very deep in the jungle, like kind of like I just walked now, like a half-hour trek up into thick jungle. And there was a platform near the hut that just had a roof and a platform deck. And my partner, who's a shamanic healer, he told me he used to live there. And I thought, oh my God, you know, crazy man. How would you live like this in this jungle full of snakes and creatures? But, you know, I read this book and then I thought, I think I need to sleep on that platform. So I put a hammock up on this platform. And I'd take a candle there, and I would sit there with a candle in the hammock, kind of feeling the intensity and the aliveness and the, you know, throbbing jungle around me. And then I would blow out the candle and just be surrounded by this sound. Loud, I'm like, the rustling of leaves and like, and I spent the time here feeling the fear in my body, but instead of contracting around it and going into panic, I would expand and feel it more. So like instead of, get me out of here, I'd be like, something like that, like, wow, just keep making space for it. And I did some of the Tao Tantric arts, which I had learned in a workshop, to circulate this energy through my body and to breathe with it and to witness the sensations. And a miracle started to happen. What started to happen is that my fear turned into life force. That bit by bit, all that had terrified me was starting to enliven me. And you know, I always grew up with a lot of nature and walking in it, but there was a place where I didn't go. The darkness of being alone in the forest in the middle of the night and facing fear. I remember one time being in the light and seeing this snake sliding through the roof, and I could just see the body of this snake, like, you know, in the rafters, and it was like this thick, and it was going on and on and on. I never got to see the whole snake all in one go. I just watched the body going on, and like, oh, how big was that? But I also learned that snakes don't actually come to find you and attack you. They're just going about their life. And now I've met a lot of them in this jungle, and I've heard that if you tread on their tail or corner them, then they'll attack you. But otherwise, they're just going about their life, doing their thing. They're not trying to chase after you. So I got to really find a lot of life force, and not only life force, but specifically the sexual life force is like so connected to fear. And it's like if we are trying to make ourselves safe in life, we may never be able to feel the fullness of our sexual energy. And that's probably a reason that people do things that are a bit fearful in order to stimulate their sexual energy. Getting blindfolded, or going into darkness, going into the unknown, costumes, play, tied up in ropes, whatever people are doing. They're like allowing themselves to feel safe, to feel fear, to feel alive. So for me, it was so much through nature, not through an interaction with another human being as much as with the big mama. And awaken my own Shakti, my own life force energy, through fully meeting hers, and realize how much nature is connected to our sexuality. And you know, what a shame these days. I just saw a statistic that children in Britain spend less time outdoors than prisoners. Like, shocking, because they're all in on their screens all day. And, you know, what's going to happen? This will be a generation of people whose sexuality is a mere fantasy played out on a screen instead of a real embodied, sweaty, living experience. And I feel nature is such an important part of our sexuality. Maybe the human race will just die out because it's having sex on a screen instead of the real thing. It would be a tragedy, but I can see it happening. Anyway, I was just pausing on my walk in the jungle to share that. There's lots of butterflies here today. And yeah, and the end result, of course, is that, well, there was one particular powerful night in the jungle, and I realized that I had lived in a man's world, and that I'd been proving myself in a man's world. I did maths and physics and biology and, you know, economics, and I tried to prove myself. I got lots of A's and, you know, like made it in the man's world. I was in the army for a year, but I had put aside my feminine, and I had this message of like, oh, singing and dancing and feeling are all unimportant things. You know, your grades are what's important, your achievement is what's important. And so that night in the jungle, when I realized I had banished my own wild feminine to the forest, I reclaimed her. Like, you know, I'm not full without you. Like the story of, I think it's Isis, or is it Astarte and Lilith, who like banishes her wild woman to the forest. It's happening on a big scale. So I reclaimed her. I reclaimed my Lilith, my wild woman, my jungle woman, my nature woman. And from that day on, I had such an empowered sexuality of life force energy flowing through me. Feels like nature is making love through me. Feels like my lovers, I'm an invitation into a forest, into a waterfall, and to bathe under streams, and to watch butterflies go by, and be in the middle of the forest in the darkened night and feel the chills of their hair standing on end. That this is the gift of the feminine sexuality. Is so much the gift of Mother Earth, if we can let it. The day after this big epiphany and realization, I went into a lot of pain and bent my knees and started making sounds like I was giving birth. And I knew that I was birthing that cyst, that I didn't need it anymore, that I had reclaimed what I needed to reclaim. And I was better from that day on. A few months later, I did go back for a scan. My beloved was like, come on, just go get it checked. And the hospital were like, what did you do? Like, not sure I can fully explain what I did. Not sure the medical services will understand. So that's the end of that story. And here I am in Mama Earth. I'm going to switch off the phone, get off the screen, and go deep into the jungle.